The year is 1274 before the Common Era. On the plains of Kadesh, two empires collide. Bronze weapons clash under the Syrian sun. Among the Egyptian forces stands a warrior unlike the others. His helmet bears massive curved horns. A bronze disc rises from the crown. His round shield catches the light. His sword is longer than any Egyptian blade. He is a Sherdan warrior. He serves the pharaoh now as a bodyguard, but just 2 years ago his people raided Egyptian shores. They came in warships from the midst of the sea. No one could withstand them. Flash forward 400 years, the great Bronze Age civilizations lie in ruins. The Hittites are gone forever. Mycenae burns in ash and memory. The sea peoples swept across the Mediterranean. They destroyed everything in their path, but the Sherdan were different. They did not just destroy, they integrated, they adapted, they survived. This is the story of the most mysterious sea peoples. Warriors who first appeared as pirates raiding mighty Egypt, mercenaries who became elite royal guards, traders who sailed across the ancient world. A maritime culture that may have originated from a distant western island. Their legacy stretches from Sardinia to Syria, from Egypt to Israel. They wore distinctive horned helmets. They carried superior bronze swords. They mastered both naval and land warfare. But who were they really? Some scholars identify them with the Nuragic civilization of Sardinia. Others see them as Eastern Mediterranean wanderers. Recent archaeological discoveries challenge everything we thought we knew. The evidence spans continents and centuries: bronze sculptures, temple reliefs, pottery fragments, ancient texts in multiple languages, DNA analysis. The answers emerge slowly from the archaeological record. Over the next hour and 36 minutes, we will track the Sherdan from their earliest mention in Egyptian records. We will witness their transformation from enemies to allies. We will explore their possible homeland. We will examine their weapons and tactics. We will follow their journeys across the Bronze Age world. We will investigate their role in one of history's greatest collapses, and we will discover what happened when the Bronze Age ended. Prepare to witness pirates becoming warriors, raiders transforming into settlers, enemies evolving into heroes. The mystery of the Sherdan begins now. If you find this documentary useful, please like and subscribe to Unleash Facts. Your support helps us bring more historical mysteries to light. Warships appear on the horizon. They sail from the midst of the sea. Egyptian coastal guards scramble to sound the alarm. The year is 1278 before the Common Era. Pharaoh Ramesses II rules Egypt. His empire stretches from Nubia to Syria. His monuments declare his power. But now, raiders threaten his shores. The Egyptians call them Sherdan. They arrive suddenly. They strike without warning. They target merchant vessels. They disrupt the vital Mediterranean trade routes. No one knows where they come from exactly. The raiders prove formidable opponents. Their ships are fast and maneuverable. Their tactics are sophisticated. They understand naval warfare better than most. Egyptian records describe their boldness. They came bold-hearted, according to the inscriptions. They sailed in warships. None could withstand them initially. The coastal defenses fail repeatedly. Merchant ships burn in the harbors. Cargo sinks beneath the waves. Trade revenues decline dramatically. The pharaoh faces a crisis. But Ramesses is a strategic thinker. He studies the enemy carefully. He identifies their patterns. He learns their methods. Then he sets his trap. He posts troops at strategic coastal points. He positions warships in hidden anchorages. He uses merchant vessels as bait. The Sherdan take the bait eagerly. They swoop in for another raid. But this time, the Egyptian navy surrounds them. The battle is swift and decisive. The Sherdan warriors fight fiercely. But they are outnumbered and outmaneuvered. Many die in the battle. Others are captured alive. Now comes the surprising part. Ramesses does not execute the prisoners. He does not enslave them. Instead, he offers them a choice. serve Egypt or die. The Sherdan warriors choose service, but not just any service. They join the pharaoh's elite forces. Within months, they become royal bodyguards. Their combat skills impress everyone. Their weapons are superior. Their discipline is remarkable. Their loyalty to those who hire them proves absolute. The transformation happens quickly. By 1274 before the Common Era, just 4 years after their defeat, Sherdan warriors stand beside Ramesses at Kadesh. They guard him personally during the battle. They fight Hittite charioteers hand to hand. Egyptian reliefs show them clearly. Their distinctive horned helmets appear repeatedly. Bronze discs rise from the helmet crowns. They carry large round shields. Their swords are longer than Egyptian blades. These are Naur Type II swords. They represent advanced European metalworking. The weapons suggest Western Mediterranean origins. But the Sherdan appear even earlier in ancient records. The Amarna letters mention them. These diplomatic tablets date to 1386, before the Common Era. A pharaoh installs Sherdan as a garrison. The location is Gubla, modern Byblos. The tablets use Akkadian cuneiform script. The Sherdan name appears as Shiata Anu. This proves their presence in the Levant. It shows they worked as mercenaries. It demonstrates their military reputation. But it raises new questions. Where did they come from originally? Why did they become mercenaries? What drove them from their homeland? The evidence suggests multiple waves. The first Sherdan appear peacefully. They work as hired warriors. They guard cities. They protect trade routes. Then comes the raiding phase. These Sherdan attack Egyptian commerce. They disrupt Mediterranean shipping. Perhaps these are different groups. Perhaps they come from different regions. Or perhaps circumstances changed. Economic pressures, climate shifts, population movements. The Bronze Age world is unstable. Kingdoms rise and fall. Trade networks collapse. Drought strikes repeatedly. Famine follows drought. People migrate or starve. The Western Mediterranean offers clues. The island of Sardinia shows remarkable developments. Between 1400 and 1200 before the Common Era, the Nuragic civilization flourishes there. They build thousands of stone towers. These are the famous Nuragi. They create sophisticated bronze sculptures. Warriors with horned helmets, round shields, long swords. The resemblance to Egyptian depictions is striking. The timeline matches perfectly. The weapons are identical. The armor looks the same. Giovanni Ugas identifies them. Sebastiano Tusa supports this. Vassos Karageorgis agrees. The Sherdan are Nuragic Sardinians. But other scholars disagree. They point to problems. The dating is not perfect. Some Sardinian evidence comes later. The weapons appear centuries after. The sculptures could be copies. The connection remains controversial. Perhaps the Sherdan settled Sardinia after their adventures. Perhaps they brought their culture there. Or perhaps they came from Sardinia originally. The debate continues intensely today. Meanwhile, the pharaoh incorporates more Sherdan. They prove invaluable warriors. Their combat skills are exceptional. Their discipline impresses observers. They fight in formation. They coordinate with chariots. They serve as chariot runners. These are elite infantry. They run alongside royal chariots. They protect the pharaoh directly. They cut down enemy warriors. Reliefs show them mutilating Hittite dead. They hack off hands for counting. This is brutal but standard practice. It proves enemy casualties. It determines warrior rewards. The Sherdan receive land grants. They settle in Egypt proper. They marry Egyptian women. They integrate into society, but they maintain distinct identity. Their military units remain separate. Their equipment stays unique. Their horned helmets never change. Their round shields identify them. Their long swords set them apart. They are Sherdan first, Egyptians second, generation after generation. By 1200 before the Common Era, Sherdan served throughout the Egyptian military. They constitute 20% of foreign forces. They hold officer positions. They command Egyptian troops. They own property, they raise families, they worship Egyptian god. But something bigger approaches. The entire Bronze Age world trembles. Kingdoms will fall, cities will burn, civilizations will collapse, and the Sherdan will be there. But that was only the beginning of what would become the greatest catastrophe of the ancient world. Within weeks of the Battle of Kadesh, tensions escalate across the Mediterranean. The Hittite Empire faces internal pressures. Vassal states rebel repeatedly. Trade networks fracture under strain. The Mycenaean kingdoms of Greece grow unstable. Palatial centers struggle financially. Agricultural yields decline mysteriously. Climate data shows prolonged drought. Rainfall patterns shift dramatically. Crops fail across the region. Famine threatens millions. The Sherdan population in Egypt grows steadily. More warriors arrive seeking employment. They bring families with them. They establish communities. Egyptian records track their settlements. They receive land in Middle Egypt. Agricultural plots support their families, but they maintain warrior traditions. Boys train from childhood. Combat skills pass through generations. The distinctive helmets remain mandatory. The round shields never change. The long swords define identity. Other sea peoples begin appearing. The Luca raid from Anatolia. The Shekelesh attack coastal cities. The Peliset probe Egyptian defenses. These groups operate independently initially, but they share characteristics. All are maritime peoples. All possess superior naval capabilities. All challenge established powers. The pattern suggests coordinated pressure. Perhaps they communicate, perhaps they coordinate, or perhaps circumstances drive them all. Archaeological evidence reveals the scope. Sites across the Mediterranean show disruption. Trade goods become scarce. Pottery styles change. Settlement patterns shift. People abandon coastal areas. They move inland for safety. They build defensive walls. They stockpile weapons. The Bronze Age world prepares for conflict. The Hittite king Suppiluliuma dies. His son Anuwanda rules briefly. Then plague strikes. The royal family suffers terribly. Succession becomes uncertain. Vassal states sense weakness. They withhold tribute. They ignore commands. The empire fragments slowly. Hittite military power declines. Border defenses weaken. Raiders penetrate deeper. The great empire trembles. In Greece, the Mycenaean palaces face crisis. Linear B tablets record frantic preparations. They mention rowers for warships. They document food rationing. They track weapon production. Something threatens them. They feel the pressure building, but they cannot identify the source. Some tablets mention people from the sea. Others reference foreign warriors. The connection remains unclear. Sherdan warriors serve multiple masters now. Some remain loyal to Egypt, others hire out elsewhere. Ugarit employs Sherdan mercenaries. This wealthy port city needs protection. Pirates threaten constantly. The king pays well. Sherdan warriors guard the harbor. They patrol coastal waters. They escort merchant vessels. The arrangement works well, until it doesn't. Around 1200 before the Common Era, Ugarit faces catastrophe. Enemy forces approach by sea. The king sends desperate letters. He begs for Egyptian help. He pleads with Al-Ashir, Cyprus. But help never arrives. The city falls to attackers. Fire consumes everything. Buildings collapse in flames. Thousands die in the streets. The port city vanishes. Archaeologists find destruction layers. Arrowheads scatter everywhere. Human remains show trauma. Ugarit never recovers. Who destroyed Ugarit remains debated. Were they sea peoples? Were they Sherdan raiders? Were they multiple groups? The evidence is unclear, but the destruction is absolute. Other cities suffer similarly. Hattusa, the Hittite capital, burns. Troy falls to attackers. Pylos in Greece collapses. Mycenae's palace burns repeatedly. The collapse accelerates rapidly. The Sherdan adapt to changing circumstances. Some continue serving Egypt loyally. Others return to piracy. Still others seek new employers. Perhaps they fight each other. Egyptian and Sherdan face rogue Sherdan. Brothers become enemies. Economic necessity drives choices. Survival trumps loyalty. The Bronze Age world fragments. Old alliances dissolve. New dangers emerge. Egypt under Merneptah faces invasion. The pharaoh is Ramesses II's 13th son. He inherits an aging empire. He faces immediate threats. Libyan tribes mass westward. They bring sea peoples with them. Sherdan warriors fight alongside Libyans. But other Sherden defend Egypt. The battle lines blur completely. The Year 5 inscription describes the conflict. Merneptah defeats the invaders decisively. He kills thousands. He captures many prisoners. Among them are Sherdan warriors, but also Shekelesh and Teresh and Luka, 5 different sea peoples groups. They coordinate their attack. They nearly succeed. Only Egyptian military superiority saves the day. The battle creates a precedent. Sea peoples can be defeated, but they keep coming. Wave after wave, attack after attack. They never stop. They never quit. Something drives them relentlessly. Scholars debate the cause. Was it climate change? Was it famine? Was it political collapse? Was it all three? The evidence suggests multiple factors. The Sherden who serve Egypt prosper. They receive rewards for loyalty. Land grants increase. Trading privileges expand. Social status rises. Their children intermarry with Egyptians. Cultural boundaries blur. Yet identity persists. They remain Sherden. Their helmets proclaim it, their weapons declare it, their units maintain it, generation after generation. But in the Western Mediterranean, something builds. Sardinia's Nuragic civilization reaches its peak. Thousands of stone towers dominate the landscape. Bronze working achieves mastery. Sculptures proliferate. Trade networks expand. Nuragic pottery appears in Cyprus. It reaches the Levant. It travels to Egypt. The Sardinians trade extensively, or do they raid extensively? Perhaps both. Recent excavations reveal surprises. A site called El Ahwat in Israel shows Nuragic architecture. The walls display distinctive features: wavy stone courses, corbelled construction, tower foundations. The style is unmistakably Sardinian. This suggests Sherden settled there. They brought their building techniques. They established communities. The biblical figure Sisera might have been Sherden. His capital, Harosheth Hagoyim, might be El Ahwat. The theory remains controversial, but the architectural evidence is compelling. 1200 before the Common Era approaches. The Bronze Age reaches its climax. Every power faces pressure. Every kingdom struggles. Every city prepares for disaster. The Sherden stand at the crossroads. Some serve empires faithfully, others challenge those same empires. Still others seek new horizons. The Mediterranean world holds its breath, because even as these crises unfolded, a greater catastrophe approached, the end of an entire age. The year is 1186 before the Common Era. Ramesses III sits on Egypt's throne. He inherits an empire under siege. The Bronze Age world collapses around him. The Hittite Empire no longer exists. Their capital lies in ruins. Their kings are dead or fled. Mycenaean Greece dissolves into chaos. Palaces burn one by one. Linear B writing disappears. Literacy rates plummet. The ancient world enters darkness. Ramesses faces threats from all directions. Libyans mass in the west. Sea peoples gather in the north. Internal pressures mount constantly. He prepares Egypt's defenses systematically. He fortifies the Nile Delta. He builds defensive networks. He stockpiles weapons. He trains troops relentlessly. And he recruits Sherdan warriors. The Year 8 crisis arrives suddenly. Multiple sea peoples groups coordinate. They move by land and sea. They destroy everything. They advance through Anatolia. They burn cities completely. They slaughter populations. Refugees flee ahead of them. Thousands become displaced. The ancient world's first refugee crisis. Egyptian texts describe the onslaught. The islands were restless. Lands were removed and scattered. No land stood before them. The Hittites fell first. Then Code in Syria. Then Carchemish. Then Arzawa. Then Alashia, Cyprus. The list continues grimly. Civilization collapses progressively. The Bronze Age ends violently. The Sea Peoples Coalition includes many groups. The Peliset lead the confederation. The Chequer sail beside them. The Shekelesh provide warriors. The Denian contribute ships. The Weshesh join the assault, and the Sherden fight with them. But other Sherden defend Egypt. The confusion becomes complete. The invaders approach Egypt's borders. They come from the north. They march through Canaan. They destroy Canaanite cities. They burn Megiddo. They sack Hazor. They level Lachish. Nothing survives their passage. Archaeological evidence confirms the destruction. Burn layers appear everywhere. Arrowheads litter the sites. Bodies fill the streets. The violence is systematic. Ramesses positions his forces carefully. He establishes defensive positions. He creates kill zones. He places archers strategically. He masses chariots. He stations his best warriors. Among them stand Sherden. They wear their horned helmets. They carry their round shields. They grip their long swords. They will defend Egypt. The land battle occurs first. The exact location is debated, probably the Sinai near Charu. The Sea Peoples advance confidently. Their ox carts carry families. Women and children accompany warriors. This is migration, not just warfare. They intend to settle Egypt. They plan to take the land. They expect victory. But Ramesses springs his trap. Egyptian archers unleash volleys. Arrows darken the sky. They rain down constantly. Sea Peoples' warriors fall by hundreds. Their families scatter in terror. Chariots charge the flanks. Infantry engages the center. Sherdan warriors cut through enemy ranks. Their long swords prove devastating. Their discipline holds under pressure. The battle rages for hours. Egyptian reliefs at Medinet Habu record everything. The scenes show incredible detail. Sea Peoples' warriors wear distinctive armor. Feathered headdresses identify Peliset. Horned helmets mark Sherden. Round helmets distinguish Shekelesh. The artists capture individual faces. They show specific weapons. They depict exact armor. The reliefs are historical documents. The land battle ends in Egyptian victory. Thousands of Sea Peoples die. More are captured. Women become slaves. Children are dispersed. The ox carts are seized. The families are broken. But the naval battle remains, and that will decide everything. The Sea Peoples fleet approaches. They sail toward the Nile Delta. Their ships are sophisticated. They have high prows. They carry many warriors. They maneuver skillfully. The Sea Peoples have mastered naval warfare. They defeated every previous opponent. They expect to defeat Egypt. But Ramesses prepares a surprise. He positions ships in the river mouths. He stations archers on the banks. He creates a kill zone. The Sea Peoples fleet enters, and Egypt's trap closes. Archers on both banks unleash hell. Arrows pour into the ships. Warriors fall continuously. The Sea Peoples cannot return fire effectively. They are trapped between riverbanks. Egyptian ships ram them repeatedly. The water fills with bodies. The naval battle becomes a massacre. Ship after ship capsizes. Warriors drown in armor. Bodies float downstream. The water turns red. Survivors swim desperately. Egyptians capture many. Others drown. The Sea Peoples' fleet ceases to exist. The invasion is broken. Egypt survives. Medinet Habu's reliefs show the naval battle. The detail is extraordinary. Egyptian ships are distinctive. They have lion head prows. They carry many archers. The warriors wear Egyptian kit. The Sea Peoples' ships are different. They have bird head prows. They are taller. They carry fewer archers. The technological differences show clearly. Among the defeated are Sherden. They fought against Egypt. They lost everything. Ramesses captures many prisoners. He executes some publicly. He enslaves others. He settles some in Canaan. The inscriptions list the numbers. Sherden prisoners total in hundreds. They join other Sea Peoples captives. But Sherden also defend Egypt. They fight in the royal guard. They protect the pharaoh personally. Egyptian reliefs show them clearly. They stand beside Ramesses. They wear their horned helmets. They carry their round shields. They are heroes. They saved Egypt. The paradox is complete. Sherdan fight for Egypt. Sherdan fight against Egypt. Brothers kill brothers. Former allies become enemies. Old enemies become saviors. The Bronze Age collapse creates chaos. Normal loyalties dissolve. Survival becomes everything. Identity fragments under pressure. After the battles, Ramesses settles the survivors. He allows some to inhabit Canaan. The Peliset become Philistines. They settle 5 cities: Gaza, Ashkelon, Ashdod, Ekron, Gath. These become Philistine strongholds. The Checker settled Dor. The Sherdan receive land too. They establish communities. They adapt to circumstances. The onomasticon of Amenope confirms this. Written around 1100 before the Common Era, it lists Sherdan in Canaan. They live alongside Philistines. They maintain separate identity. They preserve their culture. But they also assimilate. They adopt local practices. They worship local gods. They intermarry with locals. The boundaries blur over time. In Sardinia, the Nuragic civilization continues. They build more towers. They create more sculptures. They expand trade networks. Nuragic pottery appears in Cyprus, at Pila Kokinokremos, at Hala Sultan Tekke. The connections are undeniable. The Sardinians trade eastward. Or do Sherdan return westward? Perhaps both movements occur. Perhaps the Mediterranean remains connected. Despite the collapse, the Bronze Age ends officially. Iron begins replacing bronze. New technologies emerge. New peoples rise. New kingdoms form. The old world dies. The new world is born. The Sherdan adapt again. They always adapt. That is their genius. That is their survival. But even as Egypt celebrated victory across the Mediterranean, the true cost was emerging, and the Sherdan faced their greatest challenge yet. Even as Ramesses counts his prisoners across the eastern Mediterranean, cities burn. Mycenae's citadel shows fire damage. The Megaron Palace collapses. The royal apartments burn. Precious frescoes crack in heat. Gold treasures melt in flames. Someone attacks repeatedly. The destruction occurs in phases. First assault, partial recovery, second assault, final collapse. The greatest Greek Bronze Age civilization dies. In Anatolia, refugee columns stretch for miles. Hittite subjects flee southward. They abandon farms and villages. They carry what they can. Children walk barefoot. Elderly struggle. Many die on the road. The survivors reach nowhere safe. Every destination faces similar threats. The refugee crisis becomes catastrophic. No kingdom can absorb them. No city can feed them. Meanwhile, in Sardinia, something unexpected happens. The Nuragic civilization reaches its absolute peak. Between 1200 and 1000 before the Common Era, they build more towers. They create their most sophisticated sculptures. The giants of Monte Prama are carved. These massive stone figures stand over 2 meters tall. They depict warriors with distinctive features, disc-shaped eyes, Eastern-style clothing. Horned helmets on some, round shields. The statues guard tombs, or represent gods, or commemorate heroes. Their purpose remains debated. Nuragic bronze workers achieve mastery. They create hundreds of small sculptures, warriors, chieftains, ships, animals, religious figures. The detail is extraordinary. The craftsmanship is superb. The style is unique. These bronzetti appear across the Mediterranean. They turn up in Etruscan sites. They reach mainland Italy. They spread through trade networks, or do raiders carry them? Perhaps both. In Egypt, Sherdan warriors settle into garrison life. They occupy strongholds. They patrol borders. They guard trade routes. Their families grow. Children are born. Egyptian language spreads. But Sherdan identity persists. The military units remain distinct. The horned helmets continue. The round shields endure. The long swords pass to sons. Generation after generation maintains traditions, but new threats emerge constantly. Around 1180 before the Common Era, Libyans attack again. They bring more sea peoples. The battle occurs in year 11. Ramesses defeats them decisively. He kills 12,500. He captures many prisoners. Among them are Sherdan warriors. They fought for Libya, against Egypt, against their kinsmen. The pattern repeats endlessly. Sherdan on both sides, brothers facing brothers. The Bronze Age collapse fragments all loyalties. Economic pressures overwhelm everything. Survival becomes paramount. Ancient bonds dissolve. New alliances form. Nothing remains stable. Nothing stays constant. Archaeological evidence reveals the human cost. Mass graves appear everywhere. Hassanlu in Iran shows massacre victims. Bodies fill a burned palace. Warriors die wearing armor. Civilians fall beside them. Children are not spared. The violence is total. The destruction is absolute. This pattern repeats across dozens of sites. In the Western Mediterranean, population movements accelerate. Groups migrate continuously. Some move by choice. Others flee necessity. Climate change drives displacement. Drought makes farming impossible. Famine follows inevitably. People must move or starve. The choice is simple: death or migration. The Sherdan participate in these movements. Some leave Egypt. They return westward. Perhaps they reach Sardinia. Perhaps they settle Sicily. The name Shekelesh suggests Sicily. The linguistic connection seems obvious, but archaeological proof remains elusive. The Sicilian evidence dates later. The connection stays controversial. Meanwhile, Cyprus becomes a crossroads. The island absorbs thousands of refugees. Mycenaean Greeks arrive. Anatolians flee there. Levantine peoples seek safety. The population explodes. New settlements appear. Building styles mix. Pottery types blend. Languages intermingle. Cyprus becomes cosmopolitan. It also becomes chaotic. Nuragic pottery appears at Pila Kokinokremos. This fortified site dates to 1200 before the Common Era. The pottery is unmistakably Sardinian. The shapes are distinctive. The decorations match Nuragic styles. This proves direct contact. Sardinians reached Cyprus. They traded extensively, or they raided successfully. The evidence cannot distinguish. In Canaan, the Sherdan establish communities. They live alongside Philistines. The Philistines dominate 5 cities. They develop distinctive culture: Aegean-style pottery, pork consumption, Philistine language. They maintain separate identity. The Sherdan do likewise. They keep their traditions. They preserve their equipment. They maintain military organization. The biblical figure Sisera emerges here. The Book of Judges describes him. He commands 900 iron chariots. He threatens the Israelites. His capital is Harosheth Hagoyim. The name means Harosheth of the Nations, a multicultural fortress, an international stronghold. Adam Zertal excavates El Ahwat. This site in northern Israel shows remarkable features. The walls use Nuragic techniques: wavy stone courses, corbelled construction, circular tower foundations. The style is unmistakably Sardinian. Zertal proposes identification. El Ahwat is Harosheth Hagoyim. Sisera was Sherdan. The theory is controversial, but the architecture speaks clearly. Other scholars disagree strongly. They note dating problems, they cite cultural differences, they question the connections. The debate continues vigorously, but the Nuragic architectural features cannot be denied. Someone brought Sardinian building techniques to Israel. The question is when and why. Back in Egypt, the Sherdan prosper. Those who served loyally receive rewards. Land grants expand. Trading privileges increase. Social mobility improves. Some Sherdan become wealthy. They own substantial properties. They employ Egyptian workers. They intermarry with elite families. Their children hold government positions. Egyptian documents track this integration. Papyri mention Sherdan landowners. Inscriptions note Sherdan officials. Reliefs show Sherdan officers. The society absorbs them successfully, but identity never disappears completely. Even generations later, families claim Sherdan ancestry. The name endures, the pride continues. Around 1100 before the Common Era, Egypt itself weakens. The new kingdom declines. Ramesses III is assassinated. A harem conspiracy succeeds. His successors are weaker. The empire fragments. Nubian territories are lost. Syrian holdings disappear. Egyptian power contracts. The Great Age ends. But the Sherdan adapt again. They always adapt. Some remain in Egypt. They continue serving weakening pharaohs. Others seek opportunities elsewhere. They hire out to new employers. They establish independent communities. They return to maritime activities. Perhaps piracy returns. Perhaps trading resumes. Probably both. In the Levant, new powers emerge. The Israelite tribes consolidate. The Phoenician cities flourish. The Aramean kingdoms rise. Each employs foreign warriors. Each needs military expertise. The Sherdan find work. Their combat skills remain valuable. Their loyalty to employers stays absolute. They prosper in the new age. Sardinia continues developing. The Nuragic civilization evolves. The towers multiply. The bronze work improves. The trade networks expand. By 1000 before the Common Era, Sardinia trades with everyone. Phoenicians establish trading posts. Greeks make contact. Etruscans visit regularly. The island becomes internationally connected. The Sherdan identity persists across all these locations. In Egypt, in Canaan, in Sardinia, in Cyprus, the name endures, the culture survives, the military traditions continue, but the people adapt locally. They adopt local customs. They worship local gods. They speak local languages. The boundaries blur over time. Genetic studies reveal the mixing. Modern Sardinians carry diverse ancestry. Nuragic populations were genetically continuous, but later periods show immigration. New haplogroups appear. The population becomes cosmopolitan. The evidence suggests multiple immigrations. People arrived from various directions. The Mediterranean remained connected, despite political fragmentation. While the Sherdan scattered across the Mediterranean, in the Aegean, darkness descended. Cities lay abandoned, writing disappeared, population collapsed. The Dark Age began. It would last 300 years. Greece would forget its Bronze Age civilization. The great palaces would become ruins. The Linear B tablets would remain unread. The Mycenaean world would become legend. But the Sherdan remembered. They preserved their identity. They maintained their traditions. They passed down their stories, generation after generation, father to son, mother to daughter. The horned helmets became symbols. The round shields marked identity. The long swords proclaimed heritage. The Sherdan endured. While Egypt struggled and Greece descended into darkness, the Sherdan faced their moment of truth, and the question of their origins demanded answers. The answer came in the form of archaeological discoveries across Sardinia. Beginning in the 1960s, Italian archaeologists made breakthrough finds. Giovanni Liliu excavated Su Nuraxi di Barumini. This massive Nuragic complex revealed sophisticated society, multiple towers, defensive walls, surrounding villages, wells and cisterns, storage facilities, workshop areas. The Nuragic civilization was advanced. Then came the discovery at Santi Roxi. In 1995, workers accidentally uncovered a hypogeum. Inside lay arsenical bronze swords. The dating was revolutionary, 1600 before the Common Era. These weapons matched Sherdan swords exactly. Long blades, straight edges, effective thrusting points. The Nuragic Sardinians used these weapons. They used them early, centuries before the Sea People's invasions. More evidence emerged rapidly. Nuragic bronze sculptures depicted warriors. The figures wore horned helmets, they carried round shields, they held long swords. The resemblance to Egyptian reliefs was undeniable. The Sherdan and Nuragic warriors looked identical. The equipment matched perfectly. The armor was the same. The weapons were identical. The connection seemed obvious. But the dating caused problems. Some sculptures dated to 1200 before the Common Era. Others came later, 900 before the Common Era, even 800. Critics seized on this. The sculptures post-date the Sea Peoples. The weapons appear centuries late, therefore the connection fails. The Sherdan cannot be Nuragic. Supporters countered vigorously. They pointed to Santiroxy. The weapons date to 1600 before the Common Era. The sculptures are just artistic representations. They depict historical warriors. They commemorate earlier heroes. The tradition persisted. The culture remembered. The Sherdan were always Nuragic. The debate intensified when pottery appeared. Nuragic ceramics turned up in Cyprus, at Pyla Kokinokremos, at Hala Sultan Tekke. The dates matched the Bronze Age collapse. 1200 before the Common Era. Sardinians reached the eastern Mediterranean. They traded there, or they fought there. Perhaps both. The evidence proved contact. Then came the giants of Monte Prama. Discovered in 1974, these massive statues changed everything. They stood over 2 meters tall. They depicted warriors in detail, archers, boxers, wrestlers, soldiers with shields. The craftsmanship was extraordinary. The detail was precise. The dates were controversial. Initial estimates suggested 800 before the Common Era. Critics claimed this proved nothing. The statues post-date the Sea Peoples. The connection fails again. But later analysis revised the dating. 1100 to 900 before the Common Era, much earlier. The statues might commemorate Bronze Age warriors. They might represent the Sherdan generation. The debate continues. Meanwhile, linguistic evidence entered the discussion. The name Sherdan appears in multiple forms. Egyptian texts write it Shardana or Sherdana. Akkadian cuneiform uses Sheer-ta-an-nu. The similarities to Sardinia seem obvious. Sardinia, Sherdan, Shardana. The connection appears linguistic, but critics note problems. Ancient names rarely match modern ones. The similarity might be coincidental, or later peoples adopted the name. The island might be named after settlers, not the origin of raiders. Alternative theories proliferated wildly. Some scholars placed Sherdan origins in Anatolia, others suggested the Levantine coast. A few proposed the Aegean islands. Each theory had supporting evidence. Each faced serious objections. The truth remained elusive. The origins stayed mysterious. The Sherdan kept their secrets. Then DNA analysis entered the debate. Modern Sardinians underwent genetic testing. The results showed ancient continuity. Nuragic populations remained genetically stable for thousands of years. No major population replacement occurred. The modern Sardinians descend from Nuragic peoples, but later admixture appeared. New haplogroups arrived. Immigration continued through history. The population became mixed, but the core remained Nuragic. Ancient DNA from Bronze Age Sardinia proved crucial. Samples from Nuragic sites showed distinctive patterns. The population was Western Mediterranean. They showed genetic connections to Iberia, to southern France, to Italy, but not to the Eastern Mediterranean, not to Egypt, not to the Levant. The Sardinians were Westerners. They originated locally. They developed independently. This evidence supported the Nuragic theory. The Sherdan came from the west. They originated in Sardinia. They sailed eastward for opportunities. They became mercenaries in the Levant. They raided Egyptian shores. They joined Pharaoh's armies. They spread across the Mediterranean. But they came from Sardinia originally. The genetic evidence seemed conclusive, but critics remained unconvinced. They noted that absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Few Bronze Age Sherdan burials are identified. No genetic samples from Egypt exist. The Egyptian Sherdan might be different genetically. They might have mixed with locals. They might have originated elsewhere. The debate refused to die. In Egypt, the Sherdan legacy continued. Even as the new kingdom collapsed, Sherdan communities persisted. They lived in delta settlements. They maintained military traditions. Their descendants served later dynasties. They fought for pharaohs. They guarded borders. They protected trade. The name endured for centuries. Papyri from later periods mention Sherdan. They appear in administrative documents. They pay taxes. They own land. They bring legal cases. They are ordinary Egyptians, but they remember their heritage. Family names preserve identity. The Sherdan became Egyptian, but Egyptian Sherdan. The hyphen mattered. The distinction persisted. In Canaan, the situation evolved differently. The Sherdan who settled there faced different pressures. They lived among Philistines. They dwelt beside Israelites. They traded with Phoenicians. The cultural mixing was intense. The assimilation was rapid. Within generations, distinct Sherdan identity faded. They became Canaanite, or Philistine, or Israelite. The boundaries dissolved completely. Elahwat provides the clearest evidence. Adam Zertel's excavations revealed Nuragic architecture, the wavy walls, the circular towers, the corbelled techniques. Someone from Sardinia built there, someone who knew Nuragic methods, someone who maintained Nuragic traditions. Perhaps they were Sherdan settlers, perhaps they were Nuragic colonists, perhaps distinction is meaningless, perhaps Sherdan and Nuragic were always identical. The site dates to 1200 before the Common Era. It corresponds to Sisera's era. The biblical chronology matches. The archaeology confirms. The Nuragic architecture proves connection. But whether Sisera was Sherdan remains debated. The biblical text never mentions Sherdan. It only describes iron chariots and Harosheth Hagoyim, the international fortress, the multicultural stronghold. Other sites show similar patterns. Tel Kassil near Tel Aviv has Philistine levels, but also shows foreign influences. Aegean pottery appears. Cypriot wares arrive, Egyptian objects scatter, and Nuragic pottery fragments. The Mediterranean remained connected. People traveled constantly. Cultures mixed continuously. The Bronze Age collapse disrupted empires, but not individual movements. Trade continued, migration persisted, the sea connected rather than divided. Cyprus became the ultimate melting pot. Refugees from everywhere arrived. Mycenaean Greeks, Anatolians, Levantines, Egyptians, and Sardinians. The pottery evidence is overwhelming. Nuragic ceramics appear at multiple sites. They date to the collapse period. They prove Sardinian presence. Whether traders or raiders remains unknown, whether Sherdan or others is unclear. But Sardinians reached Cyprus. They made their mark. They left their pottery. Back in Sardinia, the Nuragic civilization adapted. The Bronze Age collapse affected them less. They had no palatial economy, no centralized bureaucracy, no vulnerable trade monopolies. The Nuragic system was resilient. Each tower was semi-independent. Each community was self-sufficient. The collapse of Eastern empires mattered little. Sardinia continued developing. The towers multiplied. The bronzework flourished. The culture thrived. But connections remained important. As Eastern markets collapsed, Western markets emerged. Phoenicians began exploring westward. By 1100, before the Common Era, they reached Sardinia. They established trading posts. They sought minerals, copper, lead, silver. Sardinia had all three. The Phoenicians offered goods, Egyptian objects, Levantine pottery, Cypriot bronzes. The trade benefited both. The Nuragic civilization prospered. The Phoenicians gained resources. This trade created new questions. Did Phoenicians bring Eastern influences? Did they carry stories of Sherdan warriors? Did they tell Sardinians about their eastern cousins? Perhaps the giants of Monte Prama commemorate these stories. Perhaps they depict the legendary Sherdan. Perhaps they celebrate warriors who left. The sculptures might be cultural memory, carved history, stone legends, the ancestors who sailed east, who became famous, who became heroes, who never returned. Or perhaps the causation runs opposite. Perhaps Sherdan returning to Sardinia brought Eastern styles. They carried Egyptian influences. They introduced new artistic techniques. They shared their experiences. The sculptures reflect these introductions. The artistic styles show mixing. The cultural boundaries blur. The Eastern and Western Mediterranean connect. Through the Sherdan, through trade, through shared heritage. The truth probably involves both directions. Sardinians sailed east. They became Sherdan mercenaries. Some settled in Egypt. Others returned home. They brought stories and styles. Meanwhile, Phoenicians sailed west. They encountered Sardinians. They traded goods and ideas. The Mediterranean became integrated, east and west connected. The Sherdan were bridge between worlds, between cultures, between the Bronze Age and Iron Age. In the Levant, as the Sherdan faced their moment of transformation, new powers were about to change everything forever. As dawn broke over the Mediterranean, the fate of entire civilizations would be decided. The year is 1000 before the Common Era. The Bronze Age has ended. The Iron Age begins. New technologies spread rapidly. Iron weapons replace bronze. The superior metal transforms warfare. Armies equipped with iron defeat bronze-armed opponents. The old world gives way. The new world is born. The Sherdan must adapt again or disappear entirely. In Egypt, the third intermediate period begins. The new kingdom has collapsed. Egypt fragments into competing dynasties. The delta separates from Upper Egypt. Nubian rulers claim legitimacy. Libyan chiefs establish kingdoms. The unified pharaonic state dissolves. In this chaos, the Sherdan communities face choices. Some support delta rulers. Others serve Theban pharaohs. Still others hire out to Libyan chiefs. The old unity is gone. Survival requires flexibility. Across the sea in Canaan, the Israelite monarchy emerges. Saul becomes the first king. He faces constant threats. The Philistines dominate the coast. They possess iron technology. They control the trade routes. They threaten Israelite territory. Saul needs warriors. He needs military expertise. He recruits foreign fighters. Perhaps some are Sherdan, the descendants of warriors, the inheritors of traditions, the bearers of ancient skills. David succeeds Saul around 1000 before the Common Era. He transforms Israel completely. He defeats the Philistines decisively. He captures Jerusalem. He establishes a capital. He builds an empire. And he employs foreign mercenaries. The biblical texts mention them. The Cherethites and Pelethites. These are his bodyguards. Many scholars identify the Cherethites as Cretans, Aegean warriors, sea people's descendants. Perhaps Sherdan served among them. Perhaps the traditions continued. Perhaps the horned helmets still appeared. The evidence is circumstantial. But the pattern fits. Solomon inherits David's empire. He rules from 960 to 920 before the Common Era. His reign represents peace. His kingdom experiences prosperity. Trade flourishes. Building projects multiply. The famous temple rises in Jerusalem. And Solomon employs international labor. Workers come from everywhere. Phoenicians, Egyptians, various foreigners. Military units include foreign warriors. The cosmopolitan kingdom needs diverse skills. The Sherdan traditions might continue. The descendants might serve. The connection remains possible. But in the Western Mediterranean, dramatic changes accelerate. The Phoenicians expand aggressively. They establish major colonies. Carthage is founded in 814 before the Common Era. Utica comes earlier, smaller trading posts dot coastlines. Sardinia receives particular attention. The Phoenicians need its minerals. They establish settlements there. Nora, Tharos, Solsis, Caralis. These become permanent colonies. They bring Eastern culture. They introduce new technologies. They create hybrid societies. The Nuragic Sardinians respond mixed ways. Some welcome Phoenicians. They trade eagerly. They adopt Eastern goods. They learn new techniques. Others resist fiercely. They defend territories. They attack settlements. Conflicts arise repeatedly. But generally, coexistence prevails. The Nuragic culture adapts. The Phoenician culture adjusts. A hybrid emerges. Sardo-Phoenician civilization, mixed, blended, transformed. The Nuragi building continues, but styles evolve. Some towers incorporate Phoenician elements. The bronze work changes. Eastern influences appear. The pottery transforms. Phoenician shapes merge with Nuragic decorations. The giants of Monte Prama might reflect this era. The statues show mixed influences, Eastern clothing styles, Western facial features. The cultural boundaries blur completely. The Mediterranean becomes one world, connected through trade, united through culture, integrated through centuries of contact. We mentioned the Sea Peoples earlier, and they played a crucial role in this transformation. If you want to learn more about these mysterious invaders who reshaped the ancient world, we created an entire documentary about them that you can find on our channel. Meanwhile, genetic evidence reveals ongoing mixing. Ancient DNA from later periods shows new haplogroups. Phoenician settlers leave genetic traces. Their descendants appear in modern populations. But the Nuragic base remains. The Western Mediterranean genetics persist. The population becomes cosmopolitan, but the core stays Sardinian. The island absorbs newcomers, but maintains identity. This pattern continues for millennia. In the Eastern Mediterranean, the Sherdan name gradually fades. Egyptian documents stop mentioning them. By 800 before the Common Era, references disappear. The communities have assimilated completely. They are simply Egyptians now. The ethnic designation becomes meaningless. The cultural identity dissolves, but family memories might persist. Oral traditions might continue. Some families might remember. The Sherdan heritage becomes private, personal, no longer political, no longer military, just family history. Stories passed down, legends told to children. In Canaan, the situation mirrors Egypt. By 700 before the Common Era, distinct Sherdan communities no longer exist. They have become Israelite, or Phoenician, or Philistine. The assimilation is complete. The integration is total. El Ahwat lies abandoned. The Nuragic architecture crumbles. The wavy walls collapse. The towers fall. Nature reclaims everything. The site is forgotten until archaeologists rediscover it. 2,700 years later, but in Sardinia, the legacy endures. The Nuragi remain standing. Thousands of towers dot the landscape. They survive millennia. They become symbols of Sardinian identity, of ancient glory, of cultural continuity. The Nuragic civilization transforms, but never disappears. It adapts to Phoenicians. It adjusts to Carthaginians. It responds to Romans. It survives them all. The towers stand witness to persistence, to resilience, to survival. The bronze sculptures also survive. Hundreds of bronzetti exist today. They appear in museums worldwide. They depict the ancient culture. They show the warriors, the ships, the animals, the gods they worshipped. They preserve the memory of a maritime people, of skilled fighters, of sophisticated metalworkers, of the Nuragic civilization, of the Sherdan ancestors. Modern archaeology continues revealing surprises. Excavations at Nuragi Arubiu uncovered massive complexes, multiple towers, defensive systems, living quarters, storage facilities. wells and cisterns. The sophistication is remarkable. The engineering is impressive. The society was advanced. The Nuragic peoples were not primitive. They were Bronze Age equals to Mycenaeans, to Minoans, to Egyptians. They simply chose different paths, different architectures, different social organizations, different legacies. Recent underwater archaeology adds new dimensions. Shipwrecks off Sardinia reveal maritime capabilities. The vessels were sophisticated. They carried diverse cargoes: Cypriot copper, Egyptian goods, Aegean pottery. The trade networks were extensive. The maritime skills were exceptional. The Nuragic Sardinians were sailors. They navigated the Mediterranean. They reached distant shores. They became the Sherdan. They raided and traded. They fought and settled. They adapted and survived. The climax of the Sherdan story is not a single battle. It is not one dramatic moment. It is centuries of adaptation. It is persistent survival. It is cultural continuity. Despite empires rising, despite civilizations falling, despite ages changing, the Sherdan endured. As Nuragic Sardinians, as Egyptian warriors, as Canaanite settlers, as family memories, as archaeological mysteries, as historical puzzles, they left their mark on the ancient world, on the archaeological record, on the historical imagination. But victory came at a price no one had imagined, and the true cost would only become clear centuries later. When the dust finally settled, the Mediterranean world was transformed completely. The Bronze Age civilizations had vanished. The Hittite Empire existed only in memory. Mycenaean Greece entered its dark age. Egyptian power had contracted dramatically. The old order was gone forever. But the Sherdan survived. They always survived. That was their genius. That was their legacy. The human cost defied calculation. Entire populations had been displaced. Thousands of cities lay in ruins. Millions died from violence and starvation. The refugee crisis affected every region. The archaeological record shows the devastation. Destruction layers appear everywhere, from Anatolia to Egypt, from Greece to the Levant. The Bronze Age collapse killed millions. It destroyed 1,000 years of civilization. It erased centuries of cultural development. The specific individuals we followed met various fates. The Sherdan warriors at Kadesh probably died in Egypt. They served the pharaoh loyally. They received land and status. Their children became Egyptian. Their grandchildren forgot Sardinia, but they remembered the horned helmets. They remembered the round shields. They remembered being different, being special, being Sherdan. The raiders who attacked Egyptian shores in Ramesses II's time mostly perished. Those captured became soldiers. Those killed fed the fish. Those who escaped probably returned west, back to Sardinia perhaps, or to other islands. They brought stories of Egypt, of pharaohs and pyramids, of wealth and power. These stories might inspire others to sail east, to seek fortune, to become Sherdan mercenaries. The Sherdan at Medinet Habu faced the harshest fate. Those who fought against Egypt mostly died. The naval battle became a massacre. The survivors faced execution or enslavement. Egyptian justice was harsh. Invaders received no mercy, but their weapons survive in museum collections, in archaeological storage. The long bronze swords, the round shields, the horned helmets, physical evidence of their existence, proof of their reality. The political settlements transformed the region permanently. The sea peoples received land in Canaan. The Philistines established their Pentapolis. The 5 cities became powerful. They controlled coastal trade. They dominated the lowlands. They threatened Israelite territories for centuries, until Babylon and Assyria destroyed them. But that comes later, in the Iron Age, after our story ends. The Sherdan, who settled Canaan, established communities. El Ahwat represents one. Perhaps others existed. perhaps more, remain undiscovered. The archaeological record is incomplete. Most ancient sites remain unexcavated. More evidence might appear. Future discoveries might confirm or contradict current theories. The mystery continues. In Sardinia, unexpected outcomes emerged. The Bronze Age collapse barely affected the island. No palatial economy collapsed. No centralized bureaucracy failed. No international trade disappeared. Sardinia was semi-isolated, self-sufficient, resilient. The Nuragic civilization continued developing. While Eastern empires fell, while Greece entered darkness, while Egypt fragmented, Sardinia built more nuraghi, created more bronzes, maintained its culture. This created tragic irony. The Sherdan who left Sardinia faced catastrophe. They witnessed civilizations collapse. They fought in desperate battles. They died in foreign lands. Meanwhile, their homeland prospered. Their families thrived. Their culture flourished. The ones who left gained nothing. The ones who stayed gained everything. Perhaps, or perhaps those who left gained experience, stories, skills, cultural sophistication. Perhaps they brought these back. Perhaps they enriched Sardinian culture. Perhaps the exchange benefited both. We cannot know. The evidence is too limited. The sources are too sparse. The scholarly debates intensified over centuries. Modern archaeology brought new methods, scientific techniques, radiocarbon dating, DNA analysis, pottery analysis, statistical methods. Each new technology promised answers. Each delivered more questions. The Sherdan identity remains debated. The origins stay mysterious. The connections remain controversial. Nothing is settled. Everything is contested. The mystery endures. Recent archaeological research continues surprising scholars. Excavations in 2020 revealed new Nuragic complexes. They show unprecedented sophistication, multi-story structures, complex defensive systems, advanced water management. The Nuragic civilization was remarkably advanced, more advanced than previously believed. This strengthens the Sardinian connection. If Nuragic Sardinians were this sophisticated, they could certainly produce warriors, elite warriors, the Sherdan. Other discoveries complicate matters. Genetic studies of modern populations show complexity. Sardinians are not simply Nuragic descendants. They show later admixture, Phoenician genes, Roman genes, medieval additions. The population changed continuously. Immigration never stopped. The genetic picture is mixed, complicated, not simple. This neither proves nor disproves anything. About Bronze Age Sherdan, about ancient connections. The evidence is compatible with multiple theories. The political implications affected modern Sardinia. Sardinian nationalism embraced the Sherdan connection. The warriors became symbols of Sardinian independence, of ancient glory, of cultural uniqueness. Political movements adopted Sherdan imagery. The horned helmets, the round shields, the bronze swords, these became nationalist symbols. This complicated scholarship. Political agendas influenced interpretations. Scientific objectivity struggled. The debate became partially politicized. But pure scholarship continued. Italian archaeologists maintained high standards. They excavated carefully. They published thoroughly. They interpreted cautiously. Giovanni Liliu established the foundation. Giovanni Ugas continued the work. Sebastiano Tusa added insights. These scholars advanced knowledge significantly. They revealed Nuragic sophistication. They documented cultural complexity. They established chronologies. They created frameworks. Future scholarship builds on their foundations. International scholars contributed essential perspectives. Vassos Karagiorgis documented Cypriot connections. Trude Dothan excavated Philistine sites. Eric Klein analyzed Bronze Age collapse. Robert Drews examined military innovations. Each scholar added pieces to the massive puzzle: the Mediterranean Bronze Age, the Sea People's invasions, the Sherdan identity. The complete picture emerges slowly from thousands of fragments, archaeological and textual, material and genetic. The evidence accumulates, the knowledge grows, but mysteries remain. The cultural memory persisted in unexpected ways. Sardinian folklore contains maritime traditions, stories of ancient sailors, legends of Eastern adventures, tales of warriors who left. Are these memories of Sherden? Are they historical echoes? Or are they later inventions, projected backwards? The folklore cannot prove anything, but it suggests possibilities. Cultural memory sometimes preserves truth, sometimes creates fiction, usually combines both. Modern commemorations multiply across Sardinia. Museums display Nuragic artifacts. Tourist sites promote Sherdan connections. Cultural festivals celebrate ancient warriors. The giants of Monte Prama tour internationally. They appear in major exhibitions. They attract worldwide attention. The Sherdan have become famous, more famous than in ancient times. The mystery creates fascination. The connections intrigue. The theories multiply. Public interest grows. Tourism increases. Economic benefits accrue. The ancient warriors generate modern income. The irony is obvious and somewhat amusing, but the true legacy was only beginning to emerge as we entered the 21st century. 4 centuries after the Bronze Age collapse, iron replaced bronze everywhere. New kingdoms dominated the Mediterranean. Assyria conquered the east. Babylon rose in Mesopotamia. Persia built its empire. Greece emerged from darkness. Rome would soon appear. The ancient world transformed completely, but the Sherdan legacy persisted in unexpected ways, in surprising locations, in modern consequences. Modern Sardinia still bears Bronze Age marks. 7,000 Nuragic still stand. They dot the landscape. They dominate hilltops. They overlook valleys. They mark the territory. These are Europe's most numerous prehistoric structures. They represent massive labor investment. They demonstrate sophisticated engineering. They prove cultural continuity. From Bronze Age to present, the Sardinians maintained identity, despite invasions, despite colonizations, despite empires. The towers stand witness. The genetic legacy proves fascinating. Modern Sardinians carry ancient DNA. Studies show remarkable continuity. The Nuragic population persisted through Phoenician colonization, through Carthaginian conquest, through Roman occupation, through medieval changes. The core population endured. This suggests the Bronze Age Sardinians were resilient, adaptable, survivors, like the Sherdan, perhaps because they were Sherdan. The genetic evidence supports this. Without proving it conclusively, the linguistic legacy remains controversial. Sardinian language shows unique features. It preserves Latin forms, lost elsewhere. It contains pre-Latin substrates from unknown sources. Perhaps Nuragic languages survive in place names, in plant names, in obscure vocabulary. Linguists debate this intensely. The evidence is limited, the conclusions are uncertain, but possibilities exist that we still speak ancient words that Bronze Age Sardinians used, that Sherdan warriors spoke. The connection tantalizes scholars. Modern place names preserve ancient memories. Sites named Seri, Serra, Serenti. These might derive from Sherdan or from Latin serra, meaning mountain, or from other sources. Etymology is uncertain, but the possibility exists that Sherdan named these places, that their settlements remained, that their memory persisted, in the landscape, in the language, in the names we use daily, without knowing why. The archaeological legacy continues growing. New excavations proceed constantly. Technologies improve continuously. Ground-penetrating radar reveals structures. Underwater archaeology finds shipwrecks. DNA analysis expands. Isotope studies determine origins. Each new method adds information. The picture clarifies gradually, but mysteries multiply faster. Each answer generates questions. Each discovery creates puzzles. The Sherden remain enigmatic, perhaps forever. Recent scholarship recognizes complexity. The Sherden were not monolithic. They were not single tribe. They represented a culture, a maritime tradition, a warrior ethos, a shared identity. People from various origins might adopt it: Sardinians, Eastern Mediterranean peoples, Aegean islanders, Western Mediterranean groups. All could become Sherdan by adopting the lifestyle, by mastering the skills, by wearing the helmets, by carrying the shields. Identity was performative, chosen, not purely genetic, not solely geographic. This modern understanding changes everything. The parallels to modern conflicts are sobering. The Bronze Age collapse resembled modern crises. Climate change disrupted agriculture. Drought caused famines. Economic stress created refugees. Migrations destabilized kingdoms. Violence spiraled rapidly. Civilizations collapsed suddenly. The pattern repeats throughout history. The warnings remain unheeded. Today we face similar pressures. Climate change accelerates, resources decline, populations migrate, conflicts intensify. Understanding Bronze Age collapse helps us understand ourselves, our vulnerabilities, our challenges, our choices. The Sherden represent adaptation strategies. When empires fall, flexibility survives. When kingdoms collapse, mobility helps. When civilizations end, skills matter. The Sherden were warriors, sailors, metal workers. They possessed transferable capabilities. They sold services to highest bidders. They moved where opportunities existed. They adapted to circumstances. They survived catastrophe by being flexible, by being mobile, by being practical. Modern displaced peoples face similar choices. Modern refugees make similar calculations. The patterns echo across millennia. The maritime legacy proved most enduring. The Mediterranean remained connected, despite political fragmentation, despite empire collapses, despite civilization endings. The sea connected rather than divided. Ships sailed continuously. Trade never completely stopped. People moved constantly. Cultures mixed inevitably. The Sherden understood this. They exploited it. They thrived on it. The Mediterranean remained a maritime highway. From Bronze Age through today, the Sherden were early globalizers, ancient cosmopolitans, Bronze Age internationalists. Their world was connected, like ours. Their challenges were global, like ours. Modern naval forces preserve ancient traditions. Elite units recruit internationally. Special forces value skills over origin. Naval infantry maintains distinct identity. These patterns echo Sherden practices. Ancient strategies survive. In modern contexts, with modern technologies, but ancient logic, ancient practicality, ancient flexibility. Military traditions are conservative. They preserve what works. Perhaps Sherden innovations survive in naval tactics, in elite unit organization, in warrior cultures. The connection cannot be proven, but the parallels are striking. The horned helmet became iconic. Vikings never wore them. That is historical myth. But Sherden did, and their helmets inspired later peoples. Bronze Age imagery influenced Iron Age cultures, who influenced medieval peoples, who influenced modern imagination. The horned helmet represents warriors, exotic fighters, ancient heroes. The symbol persists, from Bronze Age reliefs to modern popular culture. The Sherden left this legacy, this visual mark, this enduring symbol. The mystery itself became valuable. Unsolved historical puzzles fascinate people. They inspire research. They generate interest. They create wonder. The Sherdan mystery does all these. It connects multiple regions. It spans multiple centuries. It involves multiple disciplines: archaeologists, historians, geneticists, linguists, anthropologists. All contribute pieces. The puzzle engages thousands. The mystery persists, perhaps forever. Perhaps that is appropriate. Some questions deserve no answers. Some mysteries should endure. The Sherdan might be one. Their ambiguity is their essence. Their mystery is their meaning. Understanding this Bronze Age moment helps us understand ourselves. We live in a connected world. We face global challenges. We witness mass migrations. We see climate change. We watch civilizations stress. The Bronze Age collapse was humanity's first global crisis. Did they tell Sardinians about their eastern cousins? Perhaps the giants of Monte Prama commemorate these stories. The Sherdan were its witnesses, its participants, its survivors. Their story is our story. Their challenges are our challenges. Their adaptations might inspire. Their survival might instruct. History does not repeat, but it echoes, it rhymes, it resonates. The Sherdan sailed from mysterious origins. They raided mighty empires. They became elite warriors. They served foreign pharaohs. They witnessed civilization collapse. They survived the catastrophe. They settled new lands. They merged with new peoples. They left mysterious traces, archaeological puzzles, historical debates, genetic signatures, place names, legends. The quest to understand them continues. In universities, in museums, in excavation sites across Sardinia, across the Mediterranean, across disciplines. The mystery persists. The fascination grows. The Sherdan endure in memory, in scholarship, in imagination. From Bronze Age battlefields to modern archaeological sites, from Egyptian temple walls to Sardinian hilltops, the Sherdan left their mark. They remain the most mysterious sea peoples, the most adaptable warriors, the most successful survivors. They might have been pirates originally. They definitely became mercenaries. They possibly were proto-Vikings, ancient naval raiders, Bronze Age special forces, Mediterranean warriors. Their true identity might never be fully known. Perhaps that is fitting. The mystery makes them eternal. The questions make them relevant. The uncertainty makes them fascinating. The Sherdan story teaches essential lessons about adaptation and survival, about identity and flexibility, about crisis and response, about collapse and continuity. These lessons matter today, perhaps more than ever, as we face our own global challenges, as we witness our own disruptions, as we seek our own solutions. The Sherdan whisper across millennia: adapt, survive, endure. Their legacy is this wisdom. Their gift is this example. Their monument is their persistence, in the archaeological record, in the historical memory, in the continuing mystery. We have journeyed across 1,200 years, from the first Sherdan raids to the last mentions, from Syrian battlefields to Sardinian towers, from Egyptian service to Canaanite settlement. We have witnessed transformation, pirates to mercenaries, enemies to allies, warriors to settlers. The Sherdan adapted constantly. They survived catastrophe. They left enduring mysteries. The human cost was immense. Thousands died in battles. Families were separated forever. Communities were destroyed completely, but some survived, some adapted, some thrived. Their descendants might walk among us. In Sardinia, in Egypt, in Israel. The bloodlines might continue. The genetic legacy might persist. We cannot know with certainty, but the possibility exists that Sherdan genes survive in modern populations, in living people. The past remains present in unexpected ways. The scholarly debate continues intensely. New evidence appears constantly. Technologies improve continuously. The mystery might someday be solved, or it might persist forever. Both outcomes are acceptable. Both have value. Solved mysteries teach us facts. Unsolved mysteries inspire wonder. The Sherdan provide both solid evidence and persistent enigma, archaeological reality and historical mystery. The enduring questions remain profound. Who were the Sherdan really? Where did they originate? Why did they become mercenaries? How did they survive? What happened ultimately? These questions have occupied scholars for over a century. They will occupy scholars for centuries more, until definitive evidence appears, or until we accept. Some mysteries endure, some questions persist, some stories remain, forever incomplete. The visual legacy stands eternal. The Nuragic tower over Sardinia, the temple reliefs preserve their images, the bronze sculptures capture their essence. The archaeological evidence accumulates. We can see the Sherdan, even if we cannot fully understand them. We can trace their movements, even if we cannot explain their origins. We can document their existence, even if we cannot solve their mystery. From Bronze Age chaos to modern scholarship, from ancient battlefields to contemporary museums, the Sherdan fascinate us. They challenge us. They inspire us. They teach us about human adaptability, about cultural resilience, about historical complexity, about archaeological mystery. They remind us that history is not simple, that the past is not dead, that ancient peoples were not primitive. They were us, in different circumstances, with different technologies, but same intelligence, same creativity, same adaptability. The Sherdan await further discovery. In Sardinian soil, in Egyptian sands, in Canaanite tells, in Cypriot ruins, future excavations might reveal their true origins, their actual identity, their complete story, or they might deepen the mystery. Add more questions, create more puzzles. Both outcomes advance knowledge. Both enrich understanding. The quest continues, the search persists, the mystery endures. Thank you for journeying with us through this Bronze Age mystery, through this Mediterranean epic, through this Sherdan story. If you enjoyed this exploration of ancient mysteries and want to see more historical documentaries like this, please like and subscribe to Unleash Facts. Your support helps us continue bringing these fascinating stories from the past to life. Share this video with anyone interested in ancient history, archaeological mysteries, or the Bronze Age collapse. The past speaks to us through ruins and artifacts, through texts and genetics, through mysteries and evidence. We must listen carefully. We must investigate thoroughly. We must interpret honestly. The Sherdan story teaches this. Above all else, history rewards patience. Archaeology demands rigor. Understanding requires humility. The mystery of the Sherdan continues. In scholarship and excavation, in debate and discovery, in wonder and fascination. Their story is not finished. It never will be. That is their eternal gift to history, to archaeology, to us.